On April the 27th, South Africa goes to the polls in its first ever free multiracial elections.
Sarafina, take one, action!
A special season of programs marks this historic event.
We have to put black managers into positions of authority.
They allowed us to play together. You weren't allowed to have a beer after the game.
It's better to be white because things go right.
Lighter and lovelier.
He calls me James and I call him Mr. Manila.
Diamonds, they're a woman's best friends.
Did something change?
What does freedom mean when it leads to all this?
The wind of change comes to BBC2.
Ancient texts and centuries of secrets. Horizon now on BBC2 shakes the dust off the Dead Sea Scrolls. If you'd like a complete script of that programme, please send a cheque for £2 made payable to BSS to Horizon, the Dead Sea Scrolls, PO Box 7, London W3 6XJ.
As computer technology becomes part of everyday life, the net looks at the reality of virtual reality and investigates Germany's fascist right as they go high-tech. We've also got Thomas Dolby on sound and a games review that's almost as fast as the games. Plus, how you can get online to the world for the cost of a phone call. For the future, access the net, Wednesday at 8 on BBC2.
Successful careers and marriage. Can they coexist? Gregory Peck and Lauren Bacall try to smooth the bumpy road of marital harmony in the romantic comedy Designing Woman in 15 minutes. First on BBC2, a strange and haunting affair of the Headless Horseman, the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
In a remote period of American history, there was among the high hills, not far from Tarrytown, a drowsy little Dutch settlement, long known as Sleepy Hollow. There are some who say that this enchanted region was bewitched by a high German doctor. Others say that an Indian wizard held his powwows here. Certain it is that some power held a spell over the minds of the good people. The whole neighborhood abounds with local tales of haunted spots and twilight superstitions, and the most fearsome spirit of all, the Headless Horseman. Now it happened that a very peculiar schoolteacher came to Sleepy Hollow. His name was Ichabod Crane. And to see him striding along with his tattered clothes fluttering about him, one might have mistaken him for the specter of famine descending upon the earth. His schoolhouse on a crisp winter day buzzed with the low murmur of his pupils' voices, interrupted now and then by the authoritative voice of the master, accompanied by the crack of a birch stick. Ichabod's scholars were not spoiled, and all of this he called doing his duty. He was not, as you may have imagined, one of those cruel potentates of the school who joy in the smarting of his subjects. He administered justice with discrimination rather than severity. When school hours were over, he would often walk a student home, especially the ones who had mothers who were noted for the comforts of the cupboard. that his rustic patrons were apt to consider schoolmasters as mere drones, he would often render himself useful and agreeable. Then, late at night, sitting by the fire, he listened to old Dutch wives' tales of ghosts, goblins, and haunted fields, and especially the tale of the headless horseman. While listening, all snug by the chimney, Ichabod was only mildly apprehensive. But afterwards, on his walk homeward, what fearful shapes and shadows beset his path. Among Ichabod's musical disciples was Katrina van Tassel, the daughter and only heir of a substantial Dutch farmer. On his way to her house, Ichabod rolled his great eyes over her father's fat meadowlands. In his devouring mind's eye, he pictured to himself every duck roasted succulent brown, each little porker with an apple in its mouth, strutting turkeys on plates swimming in gravy. How he sighed and yearned for the blooming Katrina van Tassel, who would inherit all these domains.
Hear our voices joyously sing this fervent song, wafting o'er the hillside in the evening calm.
Ichabod's most formidable rival was Bram Bones, who was the hero of the countryside and Katrina's tutor.
Take the spear of hope and fear and banish all your woes.
Ichabod loved to watch her tender face form sweet round vowels. Bram fumed with jealousy, but he knew he could not regain Katrina's affections by physically assaulting an obviously weaker opponent. So he employed his natural inclination for fun and mischief. Katrina sent Bram away. Bram left, but he vowed revenge. Ichabod rejoiced. Katrina had brushed aside the main impediment to his pursuit of her affections. Some time later, Ichabod was handed a note. An invitation to attend a party at the Van Tassel mansion. Ichabod imagined himself in the true style of a cavalier, and saw an admiring Van Tassel bestowing upon him his total wealth. He was certain that tonight he would win the heiress' hand. Ichabod, gallantly mounted on a borrowed steed, lurched along toward the Van Tassel estate. When he entered, the conquest of his heart was complete. A world of charms burst upon his enraptured gaze. Not those of the bevy of buxom lasses, but the ample charms of a genuine Dutch